To Metro, there are abandoned gas stations, rundown buildings, old schools and churches. When there's an environmental concern about these vacant properties, they're called brownfields.
A group of agencies is trying to get more of these properties developed. Our Bella Caracta shows us how.
When someone looks like a building like this, where it's dilapidated, it's falling apart, it's obviously abandoned. These type of properties, investors and developers tend to overlook them because they don't want any environmental liability associated with any environmental contamination that could be there.
This month, Nebraska and Iowa's planning and environmental departments are pushing community members to learn about free environmental assessments. To get a real idea of the work needed to develop a brownfield, the EPA funds these for free. Applicants for those must be cities or municipalities or nonprofits. But the city or a nonprofit can also request the assessment on behalf of a private organization.
We would probably do about maybe 12 to 15 assessments a year. And right now, we have over 20 projects in the works at this moment, and we're only in the third month of the year, so the program's definitely grown.
If there is a problem with the property, you don't need to give up on it.
If they are contaminated, that remediation is possible through grants from the EPA. One of the reasons why the EPA funds this program so well is because we want underutilized properties to have a function and a utility for communities.
This EPA map shows brownfields across the country and here in Nebraska. Their study shows that redevelopment of a brownfield can increase property values by 5 to 15% within a mile radius. On your side in Omaha, Bella Caracta, 6 News.
And you can find more information on the in-person, in-depth workshop on brownfield redevelopment on our website, WOWT.com.